Hey fam, Skye here, the Limitless Nutritionist and Challenge Queen from Limitless Health Go, wanting to talk to you today about a really hot topic, why clients ghost us and what to do about it. Now, if you're watching this over on my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all the amazing videos that we're putting out at the moment, because I promise you they're going to be as helpful as this one. All right, so let's jump in. I want to talk to you today about 3 specific things, all right, to do with, number 1, why our clients ghost us. Number 2, what we kind of start making it mean. And number 3, what to do about it. So look, actually, let's start with, what we make it mean. Now, I want to take you back to childhood just for a second. Bear with me, I promise you. This is high value stuff here. Look, when we're a child, right, we don't really understand when things are going on, or our parents maybe, neglect us, and not neglect, but as in they're busy, or they come home late from work one day, or they're a little bit pissy with us, or whatever it might be. Our childhood brain, perceives that as, what does this mean about me? All right. And so the thing is that, as children, we actually can't process, to obviously the same level as an adult, right? Why this is relevant in this situation is that, as that kid, as that child in that moment feeling basically ghosted by your parents, right? You're never going to turn around and say, it's just because they're busy. It's just because they've had a tough day at work. It's just because they've got a little bit of financial strain, and so they're snapping at me, even though it's got nothing to do with me, right? We don't have that level of cognition as a child. So what we do is we go, oh my gosh, my parents are ghosting me, or they're neglecting me, or they're yelling at me, right? What does this mean about me? All right, that's how we process it as a child. Fast forward a few years, we actually bring that same level of thinking, even through our subconscious mind, to our adult life. And so when something like this can start happening, we end up getting ghosted, we go through a few stages. Sometimes we can first kind of go into a bit of ego, kind of like, why aren't they texting me back? Or, they've joined your program and you're giving them all the juicy information, and they're just not clocking into it. And you've sent them messages, you've tried to follow up, and you just don't understand, why they're not connecting in. So we have that moment of ego where we're like, oh my gosh, who does this person think they are? I'm giving them all the information and they're not even getting back to me, and we can actually get, the next sort of layer, which is often personally offended. Right? A little bit of ego kicks in, then we're personally offended, and you may go through these stages or you may not. And then often what happens next is, once we're sort of, personally offended, we're sitting in a little bit of ego because they reached out to us, we gave them the information, and then they just, won't even get back to us, right? And then what happens is we go, what does this mean about me? All right. So our childhood mind actually still ends up kicking in, even though in this scenario, it's not necessarily relevant. It's valid because it is learnt history, it is patterns, and all those different things. It's like an onion. We are absolutely an onion, and there are so many layers of us humans. We are, messy, chemical driven, emotional, craziness, right? And so in these kinds of scenarios, when we're getting ghosted by a potential client or a client, who's in one of our products or programs or challenges, something like that, then we often will turn around after the level of ego, after the level of personal offense, and we ask ourselves, oh my gosh, what does this mean about me? And the answer to that is that it doesn't mean anything about you. All right? It simply doesn't. If you've put the information out there, if you've given the olive branches, if you've followed up with them a few times, then guess what? It is their job to take radical self-responsibility for their own actions, their own emotions, and their results. Alrighty? We actually can't control, nor can we take... credit isn't the word that I'm after, but we'll go with that for today. We can't take ownership or responsibility, better words, right? For the actions, or the responsibilities of another human. But sometimes we still do that. Our child mind, as I said, kicks in and it goes, what does this mean about me? All right. So that's kind of the first thing that happens, right? When we're getting ghosted, we feel a bit of ego, we're sitting in personal offense, and then we kind of swap and go, oh my gosh, what does this mean about me? That's the first thing that can happen. And obviously, as I said, the answer is that it doesn't mean anything about you at all. It doesn't say anything to do with your program, none of those things. Radical self-responsibility. Alrighty? It's that simple. Now, the second thing that I want to talk to you about is cool, no worries. So if it doesn't mean anything about me and that person needs to take radical, massive and radical self-responsibility for their own actions and their results, then what the fuck does it mean? All right. And look, the answer is, in how humans actually function and how we actually work, right? And a change process. All right. So we have different layers and different levels of change. All righty. And so let me just give you an example. All right. To sort of double down on this a little bit more. And my poor partner, he knows that I throw him under the bus all the time, right? But when we're going through a change process, sometimes it takes a few goes for something to sink in. Alrighty. And I give the example, bless him, that sometimes, like my partner's doing a lot of personal development at the moment, which is really awesome. We both do lots of work like that. Super exciting stuff, right? And I've done a lot of this work, probably more than him over the years, and so I kind of have a few extra tools to sort of pull from because I've learned from here, I've gone there, I've, dug all these different things, dug into them, unpacked them within myself, right? So sometimes he'll, say to me, oh gosh, this is going on for me. And look, granted, the coach in me kicks in a little bit and I'll be like, oh, could it be something like this, right? And he'll be like, I don't know, maybe whatever, right? And I might say that to him 2 or 3 times because in my brain, I'm going, pretty sure it's that thing, pretty sure it's that thing. Think I've said this already. I'm going to say it again, pretty sure it's that thing. And then he'll go off and he'll do his own personal development work somewhere else, right? And somebody will tell him the exact same thing that I've already told him 3 or 4 times. And he'll come home and he'll be so excited and he'll be like, oh my gosh, I learned this new thing today. And I'll be like, what is it? And he'll literally repeat back to me the exact thing that I probably already told him like 3 or 4 times, right? So why I say this is because when we're going through change processes, they are not linear, right? They are like this, the messy humans that we are when we are changing and adapting and unpacking and up-leveling and growth and all the different things. It's all over the place. So sometimes it takes more than just hearing something once, and then just being like, oh, okay, I'm just a totally different person now, all right? It just doesn't work like that. So when we say, well, first of all, we're going, what does it mean about me? And it doesn't mean anything about you. Second of all, what does it mean then? It just means that that person is in a change process, all right? And yes, they may have reached out to you, and that could have taken so much courage and so much guts for them in that moment, whether you've posted something and they've written underneath it, like PM me or something like that, whether they've joined your program, but they've dropped off, 3 weeks in, and then you're sort of trying to hint at them, trying to hear from them and you never hear from them again, right? Or whether, it's a lead that you've actually connected in with. Maybe you've spoken to them on the phone. Maybe they seemed really pumped and then for some reason they just start ghosting you. Again, you don't know what is going on for that person and you don't know at what point in their journey they are. All right? Because sometimes it's going to take more than the first time, more than the second time. It could take 7 times. It could take 100 times for them to hear that particular thing or for them to reach out or for them to try to start or for them to start. All right. And so what does it mean about you? It means nothing about you. It just means that they're on their own journey. What does it mean then? Otherwise, other than that, is that yes, they are on their own journey and it may take them a few goes. All righty. And that is okay. That is perfect. That is human. All right. They are on a different path and that is totally okay. That is cool. So when we come to the third thing, and obviously the third thing is, so then what do we do about it? And really I want to change that a little bit to, so then how should we feel about it? All right. Because what should you do about it? Look, if you want the strategic answer, if somebody's ghosting you, look, I never assume that, I never assume that, again, that it's necessarily about me. I'm open to feedback if it is, no drama. But I will always reach out to them, number one, and I will say, hey, hon, been trying to connect in with you. I haven't heard back, just wanting to know if everything is okay, and I will follow up with them again, and I will give them a little bit more time, and I will follow up with them a third time, and I leave it in their hands at that point. Like, I literally will say something to them like, look, I haven't heard from you. Obviously, I'm really, excited to connect back in, but you let me know when that is, the appropriate time for you. And, I am here to serve. No drama. I can't wait to hear from you then. All right. So I leave it in their court. I don't harass them. I don't keep sending things back. I don't start judging them. I don't start saying to them, who the fuck do you think you are? None of those things, all right? That is the strategic answer. But what I'm also interested in, as I said, is, how do we then choose to feel about it? Because it is a choice. And for me, knowing how a change process works, knowing that sometimes it takes 3 or 4 goes, sometimes it takes 7 goes, sometimes it takes 100 goes for something to kick in for a person and for them to go, right, today is the day that I never do that thing again, or that I choose differently. All right. And so how do I choose to feel about that? I'm fucking honored. I am honored to be their second attempt. I am honored to be their third or their 7th or their, 99th before next time, that 100th time, is the time that it actually sinks in and they make those changes for good. That is a fucking honor. And we do the work that we do because we are honored to do so. So why can we not sit when somebody is ghosting us, when we get past the ego, when we get past the personal offense, and then we sit in, okay, look, something might be going on for them, whatever that is. It could be happening in their life, or it could be happening emotionally, internally. And they are on their journey, and, wherever they are in that continuum, because again, we can go forward, then we can go backwards, we can go up, then we can go, it's all over the place, all right? Messy, biochemical, crazy humans that we are. Alrighty? And so for me, that's how I choose to feel. I choose to feel honored that I even got to be a part of that to begin with. And if they choose to reach out to me, and they do want to connect back in, I am there with open arms. Let me just say, look, if it is in a program or something like that, and they have missed a few weeks in the middle because some stuff came up and they decided to kind of drop out, but then, it's like week number 6 of an 8-week challenge, they're saying, actually, hey, yeah, look, I'm back and I'd really like to catch up now. I always still put it a little bit back on them in terms of, massive and radical self-responsibility. I am so honored and happy to have them back. I'm compassionate for whatever they've been going through for the last couple of weeks. And, they've paid for the challenge, but, I'm going to keep to my own boundaries and the parameters of what the service is meant to be. Right? So I will direct them in the direction and say, cool, there's a couple of videos here that will help you out. There's a few things over there, you can, catch up in your own time. And this is what we're working on this week. I'm so happy to have you back. All right. You don't have to then go scrounge. You don't have to then, contort and bend and then give them a one-on-one service when they've paid for a one-to-many. Nothing like that. All right. You can still serve them. And the best way that you can serve them is 1, being honored that you were ever part of their journey to begin with. 2, if they want to come back and, and it's not, and it makes sense, all right? There are obviously, exceptions to all of the rules. People can't just always come and go as they please, right? But if it works in your business model or your program model, cool, no worries, no drama. Invite them back in, open arms. Let them know you are there to help and serve them. That's cool. But make sure, you still stick to the parameters of what it is that you are providing to begin with, all right? Do not feel like in guilt or in hamster wheel or something like you have to, go crazy to try to catch up and, get them actively involved again and give them some one-on-one coaching and, be giving of your time when it's them who has dropped off. It's not as punishment. It is just to help support their growth, and allow them the space to take massive and radical self-responsibility for their actions and therefore their results. All right. So we do not need to sit in anger. We do not need to sit in ego or upset, because it doesn't mean anything personally about you at all. It just means that everyone is on their own different journey. We all are, this journey of life, until, I was going to say it's never ending, but it is. It ends one day, right? And until that day, we are on a roller coaster of growth, of emotion, of forwards, of backwards, of up, of down, all the different crazy things, okay? And your clients are on that journey too. And it may take them, 3 goes to get something started and to make the change, and you get to be number 2. All right. I also like to think of it like this as well. Let me add one more thing before we finish up today. God complex and savior syndrome, right? God complex. You are not here on this planet to save everyone. All right. And that is okay. It's totally cool. We help those who swim towards us, absolutely. And again, how honored we are to have those amazing humans in our lives. But again, they have to take massive and radical self-responsibility for their own actions and therefore their results, and we don't have to be the person on this planet for everyone. You are not here to save everybody. All right. And I know you guys, so I know that you're not sitting in ego so much so that you think you are the only savior for a person. It doesn't matter, right? If they get a little bit of information from over here, and then they get a little bit of information from you, and then they get a bit of information over here, and then it all makes sense. And all of that together is what ends up making the big radical change for them. We can be honored that we were part of that journey, and we don't have to sit in God complex or savior syndrome where we need to be the one and only, right? Because it just doesn't work like that. All right, you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. As I said, it's a super juicy topic, right? Why clients ghost us. And in recap, what does it say about us? It doesn't say anything about you. Why they ghost you? Because they're on their own journey, and that's okay. And maybe they're just not ready to make those changes. Maybe something's come up in their life. Maybe they're not highly prioritizing health and fitness right now. Maybe it took so much courage and bravery for them to even reach out or to sign up to begin with. And what do we do about it? Well, we just sit in ourselves, we send them a few messages, we do some follow-ups, we welcome them back with open arms. If our business model, if the parameters, allow for that, we do not bend and contort, all right? But at the same time, we can sit in honored servitude that we even get to be part of their journey to begin with. Love you guys, and love being a part of your journeys. Bye.